Americans, people worldwide actually, are in love with the automobile. The interest just keeps getting stronger and stronger. I think it's very natural. I don't think it's going to slow down a bit, at least not in what I can see the near future.
These cars are more than, they're works of art now. And as you know, you've heard some of the prices they're going for. They're going for works of art prices. So that was no influence to the early collectors because you bought them because you loved them.
But in the classic era and the older period, the people they seemed to be more interested in their work. I think it's reflected in the beauty of the cars.
These cars need to be seen at museums, but not only museums, at concours. And what a great place and what a great event to have so that people can come out and see the beauty of these cars. This is what our show is about in Tucson.
And they all came out for the second annual Tucson Concours d'Elegance, a benefit for the Tucson arts. The Tucson Concours, where classic automobiles compete to determine the best restored, the most authentic, the most breathtaking from a field of the most spectacular automobiles in the world. With the splendid background of the Tucson National Resort and Spa, the Tucson Concours once again enchanted thousands of spectators with a setting as magnificent as the automobiles themselves.
This is exquisite. The backdrop here is unbelievable. The facilities are gorgeous, and the people here at the National turn out their best effort to make it a success.
The enhancement of every single car in this surrounding is much better than in many other concours.
I'm very impressed with this concours, in particular to the location and what Steve has tried to do and is doing. And I think that it's going to really be a show of the future.
Sponsoring the Tucson Concours carries as much prestige as the entries themselves. At the Concours, sponsors have the opportunity to display their products to a discriminating and elite audience. Concours Chairman Steve Nannini explains his association with Cadillac Motor Car Division.
I'm a Cadillac enthusiast, and of course John Grettenberger, who is a sponsor and president of Cadillac Motor Car Company, was nice enough to send a beautiful new Elante here. The lines and the characteristic of the new Elante, I think, are reminiscent of the great lines that were part of the classic car period.
The new Cadillac Elante is the flagship of Cadillac's commitment to quality. Cadillac commissioned world-renowned Pininfarina, recognized as the premier coach builder, to handcraft the Italian lines of the Elante. Pininfarina is responsible for classic designs like the Ferrari Testarossa and the Rolls-Royce Camargue. One look at the dramatic design of the Cadillac Elante is evidence that this car is truly a world-class automobile. For the second year, Piper Heidsieck, the world's finest champagne house and producers of Piper Heidsieck Rare, was pleased to sponsor the Tucson Concours.
Well, we were here last year, and we've decided to come back again this year primarily because of two things. One, the Tucson area, which is a very fast-growing area and a very vibrant part of the country and is a very good market for our champagne products. And secondly, we like to be associated with this facility as well as the charitable events. So that's one of the reasons why we picked the Concours. And finally, the cars are so beautiful and tie in so well with the product that we have and attracts the right kind of audience. So we're really pleased with the whole event.
The Concours also was pleased to be associated with Thomas DuPont, publisher of the DuPont Registry, a buyer's gallery of fine automobiles.
We hope that the notoriety of the Concours, both on television and reported by the radio, reported by TV and in the newspapers, listing us as a sponsor will lend credibility to our magazine. and they associate our publication with them, that's a very, very good public relations deal for us. We'll be associated with this concourse for a long time.
After only 2 years, the Tucson Concours d'Elegance has become one of the finest concours in the world.
Oh, this is so far, for this setting, this is great. Yeah, this setting reminds me a little bit of Pebble Beach, which I've been in many, many times.
The setting here is on a par with Pebble Beach and Meadowbrook. Just a beautiful natural setting and an ideal ambiance for a concours.
Compared to Pebble Beach, I think this is among the best. I'm very impressed with the background and the organization here. It's quite impressive.
As far as the layout and the way everything is conducted, this is top notch, and this is every bit as nice as Pebble Beach, and the weather is always much nicer.
The beautiful star-filled desert sky created the perfect setting for the elegant dinner dance held the evening prior to the concours. The dinner dance was a grand occasion, and Rick Cole's auction for the Tucson Arts was a smashing success. Among the items for bid at the auction was a 1976 Cadillac Eldorado bicentennial convertible,
Thank you very much, Mr.
a 3.71 carat original design champagne-colored diamond ring, and a San Angelo full-length ranch mink coat. The highlight of the evening was the Tucson Concours special salute to General William Lyon, the Tucson Concours d'Elegance Collector of the Year.
As a young boy growing up in the Los Angeles area, he saw many of the movie star cars of the 20s and 30s that captivated his attention and so captivated the world at that time. Thanks to his good fortune and foresight, we're able to still enjoy those cars today at events like the Tucson Concours d'Elegance. He has approximately 50 cars, and that's probably good for one evening, because you never know when somebody's going to add to or trade out part of their collection. What makes a great collector in my mind and in the mind of many of the people here this evening is that the cars are usable. They're not boxed and stored on the third floor of a back garage or in a third floor of a museum where they're never started, but they actually operate. And General William Lyons is always interested in making his cars work.
As Collector of the Year, General Lyon was honored with the presentation of a specially designed Kirk Stieff Sterling Silver Trophy provided by Piper Heidsieck. Since 1815, America's oldest silversmith has created numerous works of timeless elegance, including the renowned Preakness Cup. Along with the presentation of the Piper Trophy, Concours Chairman Steve Nannini gave General Lyon a personal gift, a superlative original oil painting of General Lyon's Bugatti Royale, rendered by Gray Counts, senior creative designer for the General Motors Corporation. The car was originally ordered by King Carol of Romania, whose requirements included a bulletproof passenger compartment and a sterling silver frame for the windshield. This masterpiece is 22 feet long and weighs 7,200 pounds. Unfortunately, World War II erupted before the King could take delivery, and the car that Ettore Bugatti so meticulously designed was hidden in Paris to keep it from the Nazi invasion. After World War II, the Bugatti Royale was purchased by William Harrah for exhibition in his automobile museum. In 1986, General William Lyon paid a record sum to add the car to his private collection, making this the most valuable collector car in the world.
The first time the Bugatti Royale was moved was to bring it to this concourse. That's the first time we've shown it, and then it'll go from here to our museum in California.
Bill Lyon is a collector that has not as many cars as some of the other collectors. I think he has about 100 cars in his collection, but he drives them all They're all high-quality cars, very, very fine collector cars, and he has a variety of cars. He doesn't concentrate on one particular car or another. He has a nice collection of high-quality cars.
Among the superb automobiles on display from the General Lion collection, a 1939 Packard 1708 Durham Phaeton, a 1933 Duesenberg S.J. Wyman Speedster, a 1934 Packard 1108 LeBaron Sport Phaeton, a 1930 Isotta Fraschini Castagna Dual Cow Phaeton, and a 1931 Duesenberg S.J. Fagoni and Falacci Speedster.
These cars that you see here today that are deemed, which is subjective, as classics, the Duesenbergs, the 16-cylinder Cadillacs, the 12-cylinder Packards, and the long list of those cars, were very limited production. And now, you know, we're talking and producing cars in terms of millions of cars since then, and there's no way that you can replace these cars in terms of production cars. These were not handmade, but really the next thing to it.
And they didn't have to pass all the government regulations that we do. They didn't have to go through crash barriers. They didn't have to go through any of these other things. They didn't have to pass the 200-mile durability and 500-mile engine durability. Bumper requirements eliminated some of the exotic shapes that were in the fronts and rears of cars. And there was a decade there, a very unfortunate decade, where practical things superimposed over aesthetic obligations. And I lament it.
America was built on the automobile, and to realize that certain automobiles are an art form, and they certainly are, has been something that's just recently coming about. People thought we were nuts to be collecting old cars and putting all that effort into used cars or old cars. They looked at me like, oh, come on, Ken, they're only automobiles. And I mean, we can say that about paintings, can't we? Oh, that's really only wallpaper, isn't it?
Most everybody that comes to these shows, they're looking for something to hang on to the past, and I don't think that's going to stop. I think it'll keep right on going, and I'm really glad, because life does go by fast, and when you can look at the beauty and realize what these people who built these cars were thinking, they were looking at a project as a life's work and trying to do their very best.
Along with the exceptional opportunity to view these magnificent motor cars, the spectators were able to talk to owners about their automobiles. The history behind any individual car is as fascinating as the car itself.
There were 25 of them made in the 1936-37 era. Half of them are reportedly wiped out during the war in Germany, leaving 12. There are, as far as we can find out, about 6 remaining in the world.
We bought it in Bern, Switzerland in about 1983, and it came to me in a big box, all disassembled. Every single part was off the car. The engine was disassembled, the transmission, the rear end, I mean, every part was off the car. So then we had the task of fitting it all back together and straightening the whole car out.
The automobile is basically ordered in Paris, France in 1927 by Juan Pedro Barro. Juan Pedro Barro's wife at that particular time opened the letter and was very upset when she found out that Juan Pedro Barro had ordered this for a mistress. The mistress disappeared. The wife was very upset. Hooper, not Rolls, sold it directly then to Mrs. E. Hutton in New York, and I picked it up at auction in 1985. And since then, when it was delivered to me, it had 10,942 miles on it.
I think that these days, the Ferrari is kind of the Duesenberg of the present. Duesenbergs were custom-bodied cars. They were not made in very large numbers, And the Ferraris are the same thing. They were produced sometimes only one at a time, one specific car, and they changed the mold. Other times there were additions, but very small additions. So Ferraris prior to around the 1970 era are very collectible at this point, and I think will become even more collectible as time goes by.
The gentleman that purchased the car bought it during Prohibition, and he's got compartments under the back floor for liquor. It's very exotic, and the appointments, it has rosewood and all fine woods in the inside, and a lot of silver hardware.
What was fashion then whets the appetite for what's fashion now. And Tucson's Concours sent up a salute to both in this crowd-pleasing presentation.
This is a true Concours d'Elegance like they used to hold on the Riviera coast. What we're looking for really is styling. Don't worry about if you find a little flaw in the paint or in the chrome. Take a look at that car. We're judging the styling of this car. That car may very well defeat a better restored car.
You look for excellence. Perfection is impossible to attain, but excellence is not. And what we're looking for is the quality of workmanship along with authenticity.
After the authenticity, if cars get real close, then you're probably going to lean toward the more beautifully designed and the more well-engineered, better engineered car.
After much deliberation, the Blue Ribbon panel of judges made their selection. Class 1. First place, Thomas Muradick, Thermo, California, 1919 Pierce Arrow 51 7-passenger touring. Class 2. First place, Leonard and Nancy Ehrlich, Beverly Hills, California, a 1930 Cord L29 convertible sedan. Class 3. First place, Robert Meyer, King City, California, 1938 Packard 1608 Rolston dual cow Phaeton. Class 4. First place, Don Sears, Omaha, Nebraska, 1932 Packard 903 Sport Phaeton. Class 5. First place, Fred Weber, St. Louis, Missouri, 1935 Duesenberg J. Walker LeGrand Torpedo Phaeton. Class 6. First place, Thomas Lester, Deerfield Beach in Florida, 1928 Minerva AF Ostrich Berlin Transformable. Class 7. First place, Craig McFarland, Carmel, California, a 1956 Mercedes-Benz 300 SC Cabriolet. Class 8. First place, Houghton Bear, Scottsdale, Arizona, 1935 Auburn 851 4-door convertible. The Historic Automobile Club of Italy Awards. First place, General William Lyon, Newport Beach, California, 1930 Isotta Fraschini Castagna Dual Cow Phaeton. Best of Show Awards. Third Best of Show, Leonard and Nancy Ehrlich, Beverly Hills, California, 1930 Cord L29 convertible sedan. Second Best of Show, Robert Meyer, King City, California, 1938 Packard 1608 Rolston Dual Cow Phaeton. First place, Fred Weber, St. Louis, Missouri. 1935 Duesenberg J. Walker Legrand Torpedo Phaeton.
There's a tendency for concours to be featuring 50s and 60s cars. Maybe that's what we should be doing. But my love and my passion is for the classics and the vintage cars, the antique cars, and that's what I would like to see perpetuated.
For the second year in a row, the Tucson Concours d'Elegance truly set a precedent for quality in the concours world. The record crowds, the distinguished field of judges, the successful sponsor participations, the magnificent setting, and of course, the coup de grace, the cars, the beautiful automobiles themselves.
I think this has a special setting here, and I think he's attracted the really top cars around the country and the top collectors, and I of course wish him the best for the future.
There is nothing about the sport of old cars that isn't going to go upward.
I think there's a very rosy picture for concours all over the country. I think that this particular event will be one of the top three, or he already is one of the top three, and that there will be many more to come.
The Tucson Concours, preserving the beauty and splendor of the past in a continuing tradition of elegance.